Welcome to today's episode. I am Vishwanath, your host, and with us today is Kavith Vishwanath. He is the Secretary General of MUNners 2021. Hey Kavith, how are you doing today?
Totally fine, Ashwin. How about you?
All fine, all fine, all fine. So, how was your quarantine and all that at home? How was the quarantine life?
Quarantine sure seemed like a good deal at the start, but later on turned out to be a total disaster because all the classes shifting online, and it has come to a point where I started hating the look of laptop screens and everything.
Same here, same here. All right, then, Kavit. I guess there's a few questions from a couple of people who you know well in MEC as such. So we just dig right into it. All right. So the
Sure,
first
sure.
question being, tell me something about yourself and your previous experience in your MUNs, and then tell us a bit more about your first MUN, your initial notions about coming to an MUN circuit, and your experience in your first MUN as such. Kavit.
Well, a self-introduction. Then I'm Kavith Vishwanath. So I'm a final year mechanical engineering student at Martha College of Engineering. Well, coming to MUNs, I first started doing MUNs in 2018 in my second semester after coming to college. So my first MUN was SRM MUN, pretty big for a first timer. And it was pretty scary to be honest because all you could see was quality speakers, quality delegates, articulate speakers. And for me, who was fairly weak in my soft skills back then, it was pretty scary experience. And everyone was like so into discussions and everything, and it scared me a lot. The first MUN experience for me was a lot scary, and for the first day I didn't even open my mouth. All I did was just sat in the committee, played with my friends, and roamed around the whole big campus. And I didn't even open my mouth on the first few days, and throughout the committee too. So after that, after SRM MUN came Mace month, which was the turning point for me. And I was the delegate of East Germany in a continuous crisis committee. And I did a solid research for that MUN because I really wanted to do something not like the previous one, not like how I was totally unprepared for what was coming in SRM MUN. So I did a pretty solid research on my committee, my country, and regarding the agenda. It was Cuban Missile Crisis, and it went pretty well. I had a decent, uh, I delivered pretty decent points. I had a good stake in the committee, and eventually I was fortunate enough to have won the special mention award right in my second MUN. So that was a big confidence booster for someone who has been pretty weak in his soft skills. And later on, I started doing more MUNs. I finally got the confidence that yes, MUNs could really help with this, could really build more social contacts. Like I got a few friends from those events, and that's how I started doing more MUNs. The next one was NITC MUN 2018, then came MEC MUN, then there was Marcus a Youth Summit, and a lot more. And that was how I started doing more MUNs. And right now, I could fairly state that I could confidently say that I am at a better position than what I was 2 to 3 years back. So I would definitely advise people to do more MUNs because it could help a lot in all aspects with respect to building your contacts, to gaining more knowledge regarding international relations that are relevant these days, then to improve your soft skills and a lot other.
I mean, thank you for sharing that wonderful journey of yours from being just a delegate in MASEMAN and then turning to be the Secretary General of MASEMAN 2021. Uh, well, moving on. All right. Moving on to the other question. Um, have you ever been placed in a portfolio utterly opposite to your request? And if yes, how did you research for the same?
Well, to be honest, I've never been placed in such a difficult situation where I got a portfolio that was totally opposite to what I had requested. But if I were to end up to end up in such a situation, I would first look at how the committee is flowing, like how all the agenda, how all the discussions and all the lobbying and things are going. I would first try to build up a blog, because if I'm fairly weak in that particular portfolio, then the best thing to do is to have more allies. So the first thing would be to make blogs with those people who have their interests aligned with that of yours. So, and by making blogs and consolidating your stances, getting more motions on the floor that are pertaining to your cause, and that's how you do a particular committee or an MUN where you got a portfolio that's totally opposed to what you have wished for.
Thank you for that solid advice, Kavith. All right. All right. Pertaining to MUNs generally, many people come for it generally to chill out, to get a few friends, wear those fancy costumes and all that. And the basic question comes into for a uh, is it research necessary to attend an MUN?
Well, not gonna lie, but in the first three MUNs, you definitely need research to know better of how the MUNs are working. Because since you are first to MUNs, you actually need to have a basic knowledge or at least a basic idea of what international relations is, um, regarding which all are the countries that are present, who all are the major stakeholders, who are the ones having real power, which all are the countries that are relevant to the agenda, which all topics could be discussed in that particular agenda, how would the whole discussion move forward. So these are the basic kind of things that one should know before you start off with an MA. These are the tips that I'm conveying to those who are joining MUNs, or those who are first who are attending an MUN for the first time. So for starters, you definitely need to have a good research to just understand how the whole thing works. If so, then it would definitely be a fruitful experience for you guys. But then coming to those delegates who have been to a few MUNs, then I wouldn't necessarily say so, because they could they could understand the flow in the first day and then research on the night of the first day to better construct points, to better understand things, to list down those points that you're gonna say on the next day. So as for a guy or someone who has been to a few MUNs, I don't think that research days before the MUNs is not a necessary thing to do. But definitely you should do a bit of the research on the first day night or the second day night to convey points or to counter points that have been mentioned in the committee, to better consolidate your stance or your position in the committee.
All right. Very good advice. I guess, and to sum it up, I guess research is necessary when you come for an MU, and obviously it's an academic exercise where you come to debate on that. So, taking away the summary of what he just said was research is necessary for coming to an MUN. All right, moving on. Kavit, so it's the time of online MUNs nowadays. You don't meet anybody. It's just through these computer screens, like we discussed earlier, that we see people. What do you miss the most about offline MUNs?
Missing the most would be socializing indeed, because meeting people and friends in person, meeting new people from different professions, different backgrounds, is surely one thing that I admire about MUs the most, because I got to meet a lot of different people from different sections, like those who are lawyers, those who are engineers, those from other colleges, those who are school students. So you kind of meet a lot of people, and the experience of meeting them, the experience of socializing is a lot better when it's in person. On While doing online MUNs, all you do is just sit in front of a screen, and all you can see is the other guy who's delivering his points. And the kind of interaction that you would get in an online MUN can never match the 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 same thing that you would get in an offline MUN. So socializing is definitely the best part that I miss when it comes to online MUNs. when it comes to offline MUNs. Then there's also the part of stage fear. Like in an offline MUN, you could build upon your speaking skills. You can alleviate your stage fear. So the same thing doesn't happen when it comes to online MUNs, because you tend to look and read all those points. You may not try to make up your own points and at that particular point of time. So offline MUNs definitely have a lot of elements that are missing in online MUNs. So it's definitely a few. There are definitely a few elements that I miss when it comes to offline MUNs.
So true, as in the interaction with you have with the people and all that. I mean, I miss them too equally. Uh, uh, Talking in line with regard to offline MUNs, what is the most favorite committee of yours? And I mean, if you have a favorite committee, why though? Why that committee?
Okay, so my favorite committee would be Continuous Crisis Committee. One thing, because there isn't a particular foreign policy to be followed, because particularly if it's a futuristic committee, because the foreign policy or the kind of law the committee could turn to any direction anytime, and all you have to adhere to is that you should stick to a particular foreign policy A and not deviate it all along. And another thing is that the level of research that you have to do when it comes to a continuous crisis committee is far lower than the other ones, because if it's a futuristic committee, then the flow of the committee will be decided by the kind of speeches that are delivered by the delegates. And all the research matters to is just the strength of the navy, the strength of the army, and the military capabilities, and all those details, and not with respect to how the political scenario has been with respect to that particular place and such. The amount of research that's associated with continuous crisis committee is far lesser when it comes to other committees, and it's far more enjoyable too, because you could take the course anywhere as you like, especially when it's a futuristic committee.
I mean, putting it out in his sense, it's because of his experience, I guess. He puts out that CCCs require less research, but I guess for people who are coming up, CCC is not something that you go into just because you need less research. It is a committee where you go after you have a particular amount of experience and have fun actually saying. All right. Moving to the next question, Kavith.
True, Ashwin, I missed out on that point. First timers do not try to get into a continuous crisis committee straight away. Do gain experience in other committees, and then only try out a continuous crisis committee.
So true. Moving on to the next question, Kavit. All right, with regard to crisis committees per se, have you ever prepared to roast a particular delegate, especially seen in these crisis committees where there are these certain delegates of USA or maybe delegates of Iran? They tend to screw up the whole committee as such. Have you ever prepared yourself like, I mean, 2 days before, dude, that guy's coming to committee, I need to roast him out? Have you tried that?
Yes, definitely. I was a delegate of Russian Federation in SBMUN, and there was this delegate of USA, and yes, that was the first time that I tried to roast a delegate, and indeed I did roast him a number of times in the committee too. And yes, that's quite often in continuous crisis committee, because you need to like literally destroy the other delegate to consolidate your point. And to be honest, it's quite enjoyable.
It is. But then not for the person who's getting roasted. Yes. Um, all right. Another thing is, have you ever been an IP member? And what was your experience like being an IP member?
So I've never been to international press before, but I've heard that it's quite a fun element to try out, and I surely wish to try it out once the whole pandemic abates. And I've heard that it involves a lot of report making, then poems, etc., from my colleagues. Then the one thing that's special about being an international press member is the kind of respect that you get from other delegates, because they know that if they don't behave themselves, they are surely going to get roasted. And being an international press member in a press conference is surely one heck of a thing.
I mean, true, the respect part, but it is one aspect of MUNs that only a few delegates, have the urge to try to. But I guess to complete your MUN experience, you should have at least one delegate experience in the IP too, because it's interesting per se. Like you said, Kavith. Move on. Which was one of your most memorable socials you've ever attended during an MUN? All right. Some of these we have proof, some of these we don't. But Kavit, go on. Which is your favorite one?
My favorite one would be May Semi in 2018 socials. Then it was really memorable for me, especially because it was my essentially my first one. Not gonna consider SRM because of the whole I mentioned before. So it was really memorable because it was my first, it was my first social that I've attended, and it was also one of the most memorable things that I remember about when it comes to my college life because it was so good. It was so well arranged. The candlelight dinner was pretty good, and it's something that I still remember.
I mean, I remember that too. As in, we had a whole delegation from MEC, I guess, a strong delegation for the first time, 15 people to MACE. And I still remember, thanks to I guess Sandra and Emil, right, who are the Secretary Generals and Deputy Secretary General for such an amazing experience. The candlelight dinner, the sadhya, and all that. It was an amazing experience as such. And we'll move on to the next question. Um, how is the experience of being an EVP different from being a delegate? Is there any change in how you do your research or things like that?
Well, definitely being on the other side of the table is first of all pretty amazing. Second, pretty scary because you need to be knowledgeable about the whole the whole events and the whole agenda. First, if you are a delegate, then you need to care about the policies and the kind of actions that your particular country has taken on a majority scale. And then you need to be knowledgeable about the other key players. But when it comes to an ED member, you need to have sound knowledge about all those aspects. You need to have a basic idea. You need to have a solid idea on all those topics and all those agendas and all those motions that are going to be discussed in the committee, and you have to scrutinize or adjudicate the whole committee in an efficient manner. The markings should be sound. There shouldn't be any room for confusions when it comes to the final price announcement and everything. Then surely being an ED is one of a kind of experience, and thankfully to I owe MEC MUN because that MEC MUN Intraman was the first one where I got to be an adjudicator and an executive board member, and the experience was really very good. The kind of discussion that I got was extremely good when compared to other MUNs.
Mention one of your most embarrassing moments during any one of your MUNs. Most embarrassing ones. I mean, everybody has their fair share of embarrassing moments, but what is yours?
Well, my most embarrassing moment happened during Marcus Youth Summit, and there we were in a hotel, and I was sharing my room with my other two colleagues, Davis and Akhil Srigama. And right on the second day after we had dinner, we kind of slept late into the night because we were discussing the kind of proceedings that happened in our respective committees. We had a lot of discussion. We went around Kozhikode and explored the different cuisines that were offered in different hotels and things. And it was definitely a fun evening. And after that, we had a stomach full, and then we went on to sleep. And I reduced the room temperature so low, like minus 16 degrees Celsius, that we kind of overslept. And the next day, we were greeted by the hotel officials. They knocked on our door and they asked us to vacate. And it was at that particular moment of time that we all three of us woke up, and it was definitely an embarrassing moment because we had to dress up, we had to vacate, and the bus had left because it was already too late. And we were late for the third day, and we went through a lot of trouble, but at the end of the day, and when we look back, it was definitely a fun and an embarrassing moment.
All right, moving on, Kavith, you have enough experience being a part of the secretariat or the organizing committee of many MUNs as such. What is the biggest challenge you face in organizing an MUN?
The biggest challenge would be ensuring necessary registration for your event, because the number of delegates attending that particular event is a direct signal of how successful the actual event is. So ensuring that sufficient number of delegates register for event is the most important part when it comes to organizing an MUN. And then comes the part of arranging the necessary sponsorship for the event, because money matters. You need that in all stages. You need that for when it comes to arranging the venue, then arranging the delegate kit, arranging the food and everything. So money matters a lot, and these two are the kind of important things that one has to what sharply check when it comes to organizing an MUN, because it's the most important thing.
Like, so true. Money matters so much, and finding sponsors. Oh my God, relate to you 100% there. Um, Again, you are the Secretary General for MASEMAN 2021. Uh, what do you feel the future of MUNs as general are going to be with respect to COVID and COVID issue? How do you think the future of MUNs are going to be? You can use MASEMAN as an example, but can you please put some light on what you feel, your opinion on how you think it's going to be in the next 6 to 7 months or maybe a year later?
Well, as per the current situation, COVID-19 doesn't seem to abate at all. The situation is just exacerbating as it is now. But surely there would be a change. There would be a time when a proper vaccine would be discovered and all the situation comes back to normalcy, hopefully. So, till then, I guess the only way to continue this culture is by doing online MUNs. And even though they lack a lot when it comes to the offline MUNs, the online ones are the only options that we have as per the current situation, because conducting offline MUNs means social gathering, and it's not a good thing to do that considering the current situation. And when it comes to the Kerala immune circuit, it has definitely grown over the past few years. You could literally see that with respect to the number of new immunes that has emerged. Then just this year, just in 2019, we could see SB Immune having its first edition. Then we had a Trivandrum Youth Conclave. Then in 2020, we had the first edition of SB Immune. And I guess immune circuit in Kerala, the Kerala immune circuit is growing at an ever growing pace. And it's actually a good thing to see the immune culture spreading to more institutes. And I surely and sincerely believe and hope that more students will will utilize this particular chance to enhance their soft skills, to become better individuals and hone their skills when it comes to diplomacy, speaking skills, personality, and being a social being.
Thank you for your opinion there, Kavith. Very well said. What do you want to do in future? Is it anyway connected to MUNs, or did MUNs play have a role in what you're going to do in your next step as such?
Well, I'm planning to pursue my MBA after I'm done with my Bachelor of Technology. And yes, MUNs have played a significant role when it comes to that, because in MBA, for getting into MBA, you have to write the CAT exam, Common Aptitude Test, and there are VARC sessions where your skill in English language is tested, and you have to read a lot of passages and things. And researching for MUNs has helped me in reading more of different topics and read more of international diplomacy and other relevant articles that comes in newspaper. Like going to MUNs, doing research actually helps you in improving your research capabilities, your research skills, your researching skills, which comes to a lot of help in engineering, in any course that you pursue. It's actually an asset that you get from attending MUNs. So through attending these, I have sharpened my researching skills, and it has actually helped me in reading a lot more articles than I've been doing before that. And then there's this personal interview and group discussion rounds that come after one cracks the CAT exam. So being a public speaker, being a speaker in front of a lot of delegates that you're not particularly familiar with actually helps in alleviating the kind of stage fear that most people have. So MUNs have played a lot of role directly or indirectly in my life, and I'm pretty glad that I joined MUN Circle because obviously I got to meet a lot of people like you, for example, a lot of good friends, a lot of great memories, and obviously has helped me a lot in honing my skills. And attending MUNs is never a waste of money. It actually helps more in sharpening your skills, and it comes to your benefit at some point of time. You actually may not know when that time actually is, but surely the time that you have invested in attending attending an MUN conference, in spending time in researching, will actually help you at some point of time or the other.
All right. Thank you so much for your opinions and all your advice for all the first time MUNs, MUNners, and to everybody out there. With that, we come to the end of this interview. Thank you, Kavith, for accepting our invitation and taking time out of your busy schedule and being here with us today. Thank you so much again, and wishing you all the very best for Mace Month 2021. All right. Thank you so much, Kavith.
Sure, Ashwin, likewise, and it was a great time with you, and I actually enjoyed it a lot. And likewise, I wish that MUC MUN scale great heights as it has been doing for the past couple of years, and surely wish you all the very best for your future endeavors as well. Thank you.